Audio check. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Phil Dixon, the Chairman of the Board of Architecture Review. We welcome you to our BAR meeting. It's now 6 o'clock on the 1st of August and time scheduled for our meeting to begin. Depending on the size or complexity of a project, each applicant has the opportunity to present a conceptual or master plan for our review prior to committing funds for a full set of design plans and specifications. Approval of a concept means that we might agree with the concept while disagreeing with some of the details. It also means that each phase of the project must be submitted at a later date once plans are more fully developed to obtain the board's final approval for that individual portion of the project. Hopefully, any disagreements will have been worked out before the applicant comes before the board. All the projects being reviewed this evening have been submitted before and are now ready to be considered for further approval. For those of you who may be new to our meeting, our charge is to look at each project purely on aesthetics, design, architecture, height, mass, and scale, and in harmony with the historic district in the town of Somerville. We look at the overall street scene. Although we are not required to solicit comments from anyone other than the applicant and board members, except for demolition requests, we usually choose to begin our project review with a public hearing to allow others to express comments that might help influence our decision making before the applicant has presented the project and the board members have resolved any questions they might have. You were asked to sign up when you first arrived and indicate which project you wish to comment. When called on, please limit your comments to more than 3 minutes. As always, we will review each submittal in the order that it was submitted. However, as a first order of business, we must approve the minutes of our last meeting, which were sent to board members for review prior to this meeting. Are there any changes that need to be made, or do I have a motion they be accepted?
I sent it to Becca and.
I got it.
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, with that one change being made, I make a motion to accept it.
All right, please all in favor or those that respond when I call with a yes or no. David?
Yeah.
Beth,
Yes,
Rachel,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and mine is yes.
Phil, we don't have anyone signed up for public comment, so we can move into the first agenda item.
All right.
Becca, can I ask one question before we get
sure.
to that first item? So I provided a sketch for this, but I wasn't really acting as an architect. Do I have to recuse myself on this particular item in the way that I do for 607 South Main?
You provided this specific sketch that's in the packet. Sorry, I actually have the packet a little bit out of order.
Yeah, I think that sketch is
That-
what I
yeah.
did.
Yes,
Yeah.
you would need to recuse yourself.
I do need to recuse myself.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But on that note, I believe Beth will need to recuse herself as well. So we don't have a quorum to vote on that one, so we would just have to defer it. So if I could get,
Four is a quorum.
well, Beth, it used to be Beth's house, 120 Briarwood.
Oh, okay.
So, if only having 3, then we would need to defer it, and Joe is not here either, the contractor, so. If you want to make a motion to defer it, or you could deny it, approve it.
Can you go over what the issues are?
Sure. So basically, this accessory structure, on the rear of the property, here's the property from the street off of Briarwood. This is, oops, come on. Computer's jumping around on me. So this is the approved drawing from last year. And this reflects the field conditions, so what was actually completed. So the main differences being on this elevation, there were no windows planned. These are the windows that were installed. Another view from a little further back. And then where there were supposed to be doors and windows, there are now 3 full doors. These 2, I believe, are not operable. This one is. But again, I mean, we wouldn't be able to vote necessarily, you would just have to defer it.
Any
But
questions?
yeah, we,
Oh, we need a motion to defer.
not really, I mean, if we can't vote on it, so there really isn't a point to discuss it at this time, but. So we'll go ahead and jump to 104 East Doty. Again, I apologize, I was a little out of order here. All right. So this was some work that was done without approval. It is just an arbor fence installation at the Ice House restaurant. This is prior to the installation from the street from Doty. This is present day. Again, from Doty. Main Street is over here. And close up. And did y'all?
I think it's just the fence and that gable entrance.
Yes, I believe technically the stairway was changed. If you want to address the board, you can. I'm sorry, we usually just introduce everything, but this is Mr. Woody.
We had a lady run into the fire escape and hit it with her car and destroyed the entire fire escape, so we replaced it. And then built that as a barrier between the customers and the parking lot, so cars can't get to the patio.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That makes sense, safety wise.
Becca, does it comply with our zoning bylaws?
Yes, there's no issue with it other than it didn't have BAR approval, and the building department has already been out there with me, and they were going to reach out with additional information they needed, but in general, they did not have an issue with the structure.
The little retaining wall on it's on the left side of the fence.
Around the little playground area.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what is that connected to the patio?
Yes, ma'am. That is a children's playground.
Oh, okay. Is there are you gonna fence that?
We stopped because we didn't have approval from you guys, but the fence is gonna go, if you look at the post to the very back, it's supposed to go and block that all in.
That would be good.
Patio is totally
Right.
closed.
Yeah.
About the height of the fence, but
That is what would require a building permit, so that's why I had the deputy building official go over there with me to measure everything. But we don't have a height limitation. It's just that anytime you go over 7 feet, you need a building permit as well.
10 feet length. Not 10 feet height.
7 feet.
That's
Right.
what you said.
No.
Any other question?
Are you gonna leave it natural? Or are you planning to paint it?
I was going to leave it natural. But do you think it should be painted the same as the building?
And the roof is a galvalume finish that's similar to the one that's on top of the bar, I think, out there.
And on top of the building itself?
Yes. Mhm.
What's the treatment on thing. Open door. Billion behind.
All pressure treated outdoor wood.
But
There is no, yeah, there is nothing on it.
Just making it have to be finished in something other than natural. It's just a maintenance problem.
Yeah, I almost feel like it would look more finished and cohesive with the building if it were painted. All the spindles on the other
match.
part of the building are painted.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I could.
But the,
Right.
you know, but
Not all ongoing, thank
plus you have the stairs that are black, so what would you paint it white or black?
Staining would be an option.
Had you thought of had you given any thought to painting it like the rest of?
that, but I have no problem painting it if you guys want to paint it. Whatever you guys want to do.
And right next door is at the little house on the corner. Is there a fence at that house?
They have some exterior improvements in the yard. You're talking about the day drink?
Yeah.
Place. Not really. No, nothing that's similar to this.
Yeah.
They have some fencing around like their dumpster enclosure and maybe on the backside, but nothing highly visible. And it's definitely pretty separated. Whoops. Let's move in here. So there's some trees and everything over here separating the two.
I can see why you wanted to do this. And I think you've picked a nice solution, made a little place so everybody knows this is where you go in, and it really creates a nice entrance and it has a nice atmosphere to it. But I do lean towards what Beth is wondering about. Is it dressed up enough for a downtown place, even though this is, the back of your parking lot is actually very visible. And it just feels more like that just because of all of the painted railings, on the ramp. Perhaps paint is not really necessary and that it's not as like fine woodworking. But I do agree with you, Beth, that the untreated wood is a little more rough than what it should be. I'm thinking that a stain though could be a nice solution so that it has the durability that we're looking for, but a little bit more finish.
What would,
A stain. Yeah.
Like a darker stain to match the top of the railing.
I'm actually not sure. It
Yeah.
could even be a lighter stain, given that all of the handrails are white.
Mhm.
That I'm not sure that it needs to be dark. But I mean, truthfully, colors isn't really my field of expertise.
Y'all could allow Mr. Woody to, come up with a few options and
Yeah.
then I could approve it at staff based on if you have a kind of direction you want them to
Yeah.
go with the color. You don't have a suggestion for him right now on one.
I
They
do,
make stains in a light color.
Okay.
I would say
Like a
treat it
light?
the same as your hand railings and, the light,
Okay.
and just so it looks continuous.
Yeah, well, surely, I would think.
but
maybe
I,
the-
but I would test it and just make sure it looked right. And it,
Think if it were painted dark, it would really kind of hide the entrance, main entrance into the facility. So I think a lighter,
And you'd lose the detailing up in here. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No problem painting it the same color as the handrails
yeah.
and then the caps, the burgundy like the rest of the building.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I
That
don't,
would be
I'm not
nice.
necessarily sure you need to paint. I think a stain could work nicely because the architecture of it is not like fine carpentry. It is a rougher looking look that you've created, which is, I mean, I think that it looks nice. I think it sets up the entrance and I think it'll make a really nice space inside and it clearly defines parking is on the outside. So I don't know that white paint would necessarily fit the roughness of this kind of carpentry, but I do think a stain could work. And you might just look at some options and think about what goes well with it.
stain will be a lot less maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be that just one color for the whole thing just could be nice, clean, finished, elegant, and done. Because I don't think that you can match the handrail. I think that level of like white it is not really what that construction would suit.
Maybe just paint a little swatch on a piece of board and see
Yes,
what works
yeah.
best. And maybe take a picture and send it to you about that.
Yeah.
Good.
Got it?
Probably can do it as an either or, couldn't we? We've done it before. Yeah. Why don't you just do that with a motion that they can either leave it natural or match the colors in the building.
I mean, I think I would propose that they consider a stain color that would blend with the other colors there. I don't think leaving it natural is an option. But I don't mind. I think a number of colors might work. But I do think a lighter color, given you've got the white grout in the brick and the white, so I think a lighter color would go really well. But there's a wide range of stains. And I would be happy to let Becca approve one that you've tested and think works.
You want to put that in the motion?
I make a motion that the design of this is accepted and that he can continue it to go past the children's play area and that the entire fence and entry be stained a lighter color that fits the architecture of this building and that Becca has the authority to make the final approval.
I'll second.
All right, please answer for me. David? Beth?
Yes.
Rachel?
Yes.
Yes.
And I say yes, so fine,
Thank you guys so
we'll
much.
let you go forward then.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Take care.
All right,
Wonderful.
607 South Main. This project was an addition project that was approved with the condition that the windows were to be simulated divided light. Yes, Rachel is recusing herself as she was involved with this project. So something that we didn't really capture in the meeting, this was a Zoom meeting. But the windows on the existing home are not simulated divided light. So the intent of the condition that was given at the time of the meeting was that the windows were to be simulated divided light to match the rest of the home. The homeowners were not aware that they did not have simulated divided light windows. They thought they did. So just a little miscommunication. So the windows, and Heidi, if you want to get up and comment on anything if they have questions for you. But the condition was made because the board was under the impression that all of the other windows were simulated divided light when in fact they are not. So here's the addition here.
Yeah, so it was clearly just a case of not understanding what simulated divided light meant. I just thought it meant that there were grids in the windows and that they weren't just ones without grids. So that's the side of the house of the original structure, just to show you the windows that were in there. So yeah, until Becca came and did her walk around and asked if that's what they were, I was like, I don't know, what does that mean? So it was definitely just an innocent mistake on that. It's on the rear of our house. We do have full screens on all those windows, so it's kind of hard to even see if there were grids. But
And that's the view from the street. There's the house right there.
I think one of the comments at the time that we approved this project was that even though the house did not have simulated divided lights, that we wanted them on the addition, and so that in the future, the windows in the rest of the house were probably going to have to be replaced at some time, and then they would be replaced with simulated divided lights.
I did go back and watch the meeting when the owners were asked if they had simulated divided light windows, they said yes. So I do remember some of that discussion, but my understanding was that was more in line with maybe the siding and the trim. But from what I understood and rewatching the meeting, Tim's motion that they have simulated divided light seemed to be related to the fact that they had confirmed that they had simulated divided light windows.
but we did upgrade all of our siding, if you noticed.
Contractors who do the work would also read the approval. Who made the decision that do the between the glass grids? Homeowner or contractor?
And so I believe that our contractor took the plans over to Lowe's and gave them to the guy there. I went and made the payment for them with the person in the window department at Lowe's.
Has that contractor done other work in the historic district before?
Yes.
Mhm.
He knows our requirements for simulated divided lights, doesn't he?
That would depend on if he's done work that specifically involved that, but off the top of my head, I mean, I don't think he's done a major renovation in a while. I know he's done some minor stuff around that's approved at a staff level, but nothing as large as this in a while that's come across my desk at least.
So we make a decision. Oh, our meetings are consumed with asking forgiveness rather than permission.
There have been instances where we've allowed people to use vinyl and windows that match what they already have. Just throwing that out there.
I'm just disappointed that what we agreed to didn't end up being part of the study.
If we had understood better the terminology, we would have done it in a heartbeat. There was a lot of things that we actually, when we peeled back the old vinyl siding, we discovered there was some like really beautiful evidence of there being a 10-inch freeze board. We made sure that the contractors added freeze board in. That was non-existent. It wasn't even existent anymore. We knew it existed because that portion wasn't painted. There was crown molding in all of our gables hidden under the vinyl. We made them duplicate that. We put functional shutters on. We made sure that all of our ledges under our windows in the addition matched completely to all of the ones on the existing house. So we did a lot of things kind of above and beyond with the back and also even with the existing part of the house when we redid the siding to really make it distinguished and also look how it would have. And we actually even won an award for that. So
And so how many windows does that entail?
15 or 16,
16 is a lot.
it's a lot. It's about $10,000 worth of windows. I brought my receipt.
I agree with David that this has become an issue where we're seeing more and more of things just not carried through with, I don't know if it's on the contractor's end or if there's blame to go in both directions with the homeowner and the contractor. But I don't know what you do about it at this point. But it would be nice to see that taken back to what it would have been originally.
Does the contractor know that he has provided not as per the approval?
Well, he was there when Becca did the,
I explained it to him when I came out there to do my final inspection. He did not schedule a final inspection, which was attached to his building permit. Unfortunately, this is really common. It's the same thing that happened with 120 Briarwood and all of those projects that they did for that show. There were no final inspections called in, and honestly, you know, this is the town of Somerville in comparison to other municipalities that are larger. They have a lot more staff. So I really only complete a final inspection on projects that go before the board. Or if they are something where someone has called me and said they think something was done it not appropriately. So I reached out to Heidi and she said, you know, of course, come out immediately whenever you need to. So, yeah, I mean, the Marty, correct, is the contractor. Marty was there when I walked around and explained what the difference between the windows were. And
He didn't know the difference between the windows?
I'm not saying that, you know, the conditions of approval that are given are put in the system the day after you guys issue them. Once they submit for a building permit, it gets attached to their building permit. So when they're issued their permit placard, that they're also issued a copy of that. It's sent to the homeowner first or whoever applies for it, because usually there's a gap in between when the permit is applied for and when it was approved. They're given that information when they receive the building permit, so. Beyond us giving them conditions of approval and me going out inspecting it, I'm not sure if there's much else that we can do. Or where we would have caught it. I mean, it would have gotten caught either if I had them call me when their materials come in or not.
Did the contractor say anything to y'all after?
After the fact.
Yeah.
No, I actually went and I even wondered if perhaps Lowe's had made a mistake and we did order the right thing and they gave us the wrong thing. We put the order in so early because if you remember, this was all back during COVID and the supply issues, and we have a detached garage in the back. So like, I'm putting that order in, we're getting these windows. So if they get in a little early, we'll keep them in the garage. But anyway, I looked back at the paperwork and I believe that we got what we ordered. Again, all the terminology and specs on the work order, or the order we had from them was a little hard for me to understand. So
I'm just looking at it. And the number of windows that we're looking at is almost go back to ground zero to rebuild everything. If he's got to.
yeah, and the reality is that, I mean, I'm not trying to like make an excuse or anything like that, but it is on the back of the house. It's a heavily wooded lot. We're set way back off the road. No, the two houses that are on either side of us are on the road and we're set back. So really nobody sees our windows but us. And they do have those full screens, which even when Becca was there, she had to look pretty carefully to be able to tell whether those grids were inside or outside of the windows because of the full length screens that are on them, because it's our bedroom. So we wanted privacy. And
We've got two choices. Either we tell them they gotta take all the windows out and replace them, or we accept the fact that it's wrong and say proceed. Those are really the only two. I would love to hope that the contract you had with the contractor would mean that he was the one that was gonna have to bite the bullet with the getting different windows, but I don't know that that's the case.
This, but at this point too, it's our bedroom and I don't know that I want to have like more construction going on. We've been doing construction for like a year and then we wouldn't have a bedroom to sleep in while that's going on either. And we've sold our house in Mount Pleasant already.
This gets back to what I've been pushing for years is our having a pamphlet, a picture book pamphlet like the one that they have an eye on for the builders that show them what a simulated divided light is for the homeowner, and how a porch should work and all the various aspects that we have too many oopses over. We have a copy of that book in our files. It's nice to be able to, when somebody comes for a project, say, here, read this and understand what we're going to approve and not approve.
I think that's what the guidelines are supposed to do. But
Well,
They're-
it's the fact that
They're not-
we have problems with people following requirements. I mean, it's something I have to deal with every day, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
well,
They're, they're not really specific enough for,
I mean, the conditions of approval. You know, if a builder doesn't know what something means, they know well enough to reach out to someone. I think a lot of these unfortunately are gonna have to be case by case basis because every house and property is different by nature.
are you aware of the booklet I'm talking about?
Yes, I am.
That is got very specific details of how each of these things are done. We continually have to tell people how we want a window properly framed. That book shows exactly how it's supposed to be framed, as well as what a sill is and a proper rake on the sill and all that sort of thing. That would be helpful going forward to avoid people making innocent errors, not understanding what we have agreed with them to do. Get off my soapbox.
well, it's, we're about in the same situation as we were last month with our special board meeting because we got the wrong roof.
Yeah.
Which are, I mean, it's exactly the same. I mean, we're seeing the same conditions tonight that we saw then.
But you know, if you have going forward and saying that on an addition, it's gonna have simulated divided lights and it's gonna have a properly framed window, and they've got a book there and they sign off that they have read and understood what that means, along with their contractor, then we've got much greater power to say you've done wrong. But I'm sure the general public is gonna have a damn bit of understanding about lights. And we we toss it around very nimbly. And we hope that the people that we're dealing with understand it. And they nod yes, but then it doesn't get done. And that, I think they're, when people are doing work, we need to be able to educate them on what it is we're requiring. And for them and their contractor to know what we're requiring. Take this problem.
Yeah, I understand. I agree with you in that respect. I think too, it all starts with when someone buys a house in the historic district, their realtor has a responsibility to let them know that this house is in the historic district and there's guidelines that they need to go by. If they do any work on their house, so before they buy it, so then they know ahead of time what they're dealing with. So a lot of times, that's the responsibility of a realtor to let somebody
More and
know.
more realtors from outside of Somerville selling houses. in
Yeah,
Somerville.
and they need to know about that, but yeah, that doesn't help. The situation.
I think I'd like to know whether this was an ordering decision made by a contractor. Possibly. Everybody can correct that.
Were the windows specified in Rachel's drawings?
Not sure.
They were not as simulated divided light, I don't believe. But that was, these drawings were issued with the conditions of approval that stated that,
Stated by the board.
yes. So no, they're not called out as simulated divided light, but again, it was on the conditions of approval.
Well. Do we have anybody, a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the change in the windows.
Second.
All right, please answer them. David,
But yes,
Beth,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and I say yes. This,
Can this be documented in their file?
Oh, yeah,
for the
we have,
house?
we have case files for every house that really has ever had work done on it that we've issued permits for. So it'll be documented.
being homeowners, we kind of understand your dilemma on it, and it's mostly the contractor, but if you like most folks, I'm sure you don't have a multi-page contract that you wrote up that you specified every little bit that had to be done in the thing, and for you to be the one that gets zapped by it, it doesn't seem fair. We had the same thing last month with a roofing thing where the contractor got we require a 1 inch standing seam and they got an 1.5 inch standing seam. And yeah, it's kind of, when you're at that point, you know, it's
Yes, they had
rough.
Ripped off the other roof before they
Yeah,
caved.
That one the other-
Then we could have said, all right, pack the truck back up and get the right roof.
yeah. But that one, of course, we, looking at hurricane season, we couldn't leave somebody with a historic home sitting there with probably 6 to 8 weeks to get more material and have a Hugo come through in the meantime. And it's kind of the same thing here. Your house is perfectly, it's complete. It's there and you got it. And so I can't see y'all being the ones that get stuck by it, but I do think that we might, I'd like to see a copy of that thing that Dave is talking about. I don't know if that's possible or not, and see what Ion. Yeah. I mean, I just like to see what we're talking about and what we, and maybe as a board, we can,
Yeah, unfortunately, this, before I started, there weren't even final BAR inspections. So who knows how much of this has gone on and it continues to go on. And unfortunately for properties that just don't get any permits, they kind of are off the hook if no one ends up finding out about it. So it's a struggle. So, but we will discuss it at the next meeting.
yeah, I think that's something that maybe that's something, I mean, we came up with the booklet, the guidance book. But that, I'm sure that helps some,
It
but there's a
does.
lot in it, a lot of pages to look at, but.
Yeah.
If we can come up with something that spells out, when we get into specific parts and parcels of projects, if we have something that we can say, this is it.
We can only go up from here.
Yep. So we're learning still. In spite of all years, but wish you well and enjoy your house.
I don't have anything under miscellaneous tonight, so unless y'all have anything that needs to be discussed, we can get a motion and go home.
So
I'll second.
Jane,
Yes.
but- and you said so, we're gone. Thank y'all.